Hi everyone. Today I will be presenting on totalitarianism in literature and in 1984. First, I would like to start off with defining totalitarianism, and then I'll be moving on to totalitarianism in history, totalitarianism in 1984, George Orwell, and the connections between the novel 1984 and Nazi Germany. Defining totalitarianism by the Merriam-Webster is seen as the political concept that citizens should be totally subjected to an absolute state of authority. And if you look down here, you'll see an image of Big Brother with the caption, "Big Brother is watching you," and an image of Adolf Hitler. So, totalitarianism in history is seen in Nazi Germany with Adolf Hitler, which we'll later get into, Joseph Stalin and his Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and Benito Mussolini with his spread of fascism. George Orwell. So, George Orwell was a British journalist, novelist, and essayist during World War II. He was born June 25th, 1903 in India and moved to England when he was 8. His known name is George Orwell, however, his real name is Eric Arthur Blair. He is known for his famous works of fiction based off of dystopian societies. This is seen with works like Animal Farm and 1984. For George Orwell, 1984 represented the accumulation of his life's work and personal experience, considering he was alive during this time. He is most notable for his philosophical contributions that discuss nationalism, totalitarianism, socialism, and propaganda. He shows through his characters, Winston, the dimensions of totalitarianism and the dangers of it. He had worked for BBC, which later served as his inspiration for the Ministry of Truth. So overall, 1984 was the reflection of his personal life. "1984 takes place in the future that was once Great Britain. It had been written in 1949, and it shows that it was ruled by a party that spreads propaganda to control the state and instill fear. In 1984, the manipulation of history restricts citizens. This is seen with the Ministry of Truth that serves to convey the falsification of events. Big Brother is the leader of the party in Oceania. So we see in 1984 that O'Brien is a powerful government official who uses torture to manipulate and torture, as well as gain power over the thoughts and actions of Winston. To compare to Nazi Germany, which occurred in 1933 to 1945, Nazi Germany was a totalitarian power of state that replaced the rule of law and ideology that substituted for freedom of thought. Adolf Hitler had considered himself the absolute leader also known as the Fuhrer, as he constantly monitored citizens' behaviors. He had wanted to eliminate the Jewish handicapped homosexuals, since he believed the Aryan race could not coexist with an inferior race. He wanted Germany to return to its former glory. He had spread half-truths and scapegoats. This is similarly seen with the Ministry of Truth that had also spread falsifications of history. Hitler's government was called the Third Reich, which became a dictatorship, leaving no room for freedom. He also had concentration camps that killed around 6 million Jews. Connections between 1984 and Nazi Germany was telescreen and thought police, which through extensive surveillance contradicted the principles of Ingsoc. Ingsoc and the Third Reich were both dictatorships that controlled people's thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and history. Propaganda and the spread of ideologies. So, as we see in the novel Doublethink, Newspeak, as well as Good Sex, Sex Crime, Old Think, were all jargons used that stripped English of its true meaning. We also see this with Hitler and his use of scapegoating with half-truths. Although he did not use jargons, he did use scapegoating half-truths to control what the public thought. Big Brother and Adolf Hitler were also dictators for complete power. Another similarity is Germany and Russia joined together at the start of World War II as they worked together to invade Poland. Yet Hitler had attacked Russia in 1941, which represents Oceania, making Eurasia its ally, and then attacking East Asia. Joy camps in 1984 refer to concentration camps in Nazi Germany. There was poor living conditions. This was seen with the proles in 1984, as well as poor living conditions within Germany, and both were punished for disagreeing with the state. Hitler had monitored the public and controlling its actions. I found a similarity in the quote, "Big Brother is always watching you," as well as Hitler's youth controlled young boys, which turned them ideally into fighters for the Nazi cause. Similarly, children are indoctrinated and hypnotized in 1984 to believe having desires and feelings towards things, mainly just desires, were not fond of, as they were also controlled by what the government thought, and they were ideally turned into citizens that were almost zombie-like. So, torture was used in concentration camps that killed over 6 million Jews. A comparison is what we see in 1984 was done with the Ministry of Love. So, for example, Room 101 was the most known room where it contained the worst fear of the person's life. We see this in the novel 1984 with Winston, as he is placed in a room full of mice, which is ideally his biggest fear. In 1984, the evil enemy of the state is Goldstein. However, with Hitler, the ideal enemy is the Jewish. Another comparison and/or similarity is in the novel, there's 2 minutes of hate, whereas Hitler gave speeches and rallies to confirm his ideologies. A quote that I found intriguing is, "Doublethink means the power of holding 2 contradictory beliefs in one's mind and simultaneously accepting both of them." We see this with Winston as he discusses 2 plus 2 equals 4, but it's only true if you believe that it's true. And if it says it's true, otherwise 2 plus 2 would equal 5. We also see in the novel Ingsock's motto, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength." These paradoxical phrases do not make sense to normal people, but they make perfect sense in the eyes of Big Brother and the people of position of controlling power. So, War is Peace explains the use of war in Ingsoc to maintain totalitarian systems. So, since being continuously in the state of war scares people, but is used to control people's thoughts and their actions and how they feel. So Winston mentions that the pearls are the hope for the future, and he acknowledges the corruptions that they are facing and experiencing. He shows that ignorance of people gives strength to the government that people cannot disobey, since they know how and why they should disobey. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something, and I look forward to hearing a discussion on this later.